Protection magic isn't about fear. It's about deciding what gets to touch you and what doesn't. And that's one of the most radical acts of power you can perform. Here's what most people miss. Protection magic is older than love spells, older than prosperity work, older than almost anything else we do. It's the first thing humans reached for the moment they realized the spirit world could bleed into this one. When our ancestors understood that unseen forces had teeth, they didn't just accept it. They learned to set boundaries. And that's the shift you need to make right now. This isn't about living scared. It's about living deliberately. You're not building walls to hide behind. You're deciding what has permission to cross your threshold. There's a difference between paranoia and sovereignty, and protection magic is the latter. It's you saying, this far, no further. Not because you're weak, but because you're awake. The old practitioners didn't separate physical protection from spiritual protection because they understood something we've forgotten. A curse and an energy drain work exactly the same way. Something uninvited is taking from you. Whether it's a neighbor's jealousy or a spirit that's overstayed its welcome, the mechanics are identical. Something is feeding where it shouldn't. So when you work protection magic, you're not being reactive. You're not flinching. You're claiming space. You're saying, I know what belongs here and what doesn't, and I'm powerful enough to enforce that distinction. That's not defense. That's dominion. Wards and vague good vibes you hope stick around. They're architecture. Specific, deliberate, built with intention at the places where your world meets everything else. Doorways, windows, property lines. The edge of your own aura if you're precise enough with what you're asking for. These are thresholds with teeth. Salt, iron, rowan, red thread. You've probably heard these called superstitions, folklore for people who didn't know better. But here's what they actually are: materials that hold charge. They create energetic friction against intrusion the same way a lock creates physical resistance. They're tools, and they work if you know how to use them. The Scottish seining tradition understood this on a foundational level. Smoke and salt water used to purify and protect homes, especially on quarter days when the boundary between worlds got thin. But you weren't just cleansing. You were resetting the energetic baseline of a space so that anything that didn't belong would stand out like blood on snow. Sudden. Obvious. Impossible to miss. Here's the part modern practice forgets. Wards degrade. Without attention, they fall apart. Which is exactly why the old ways built protection into daily rhythms. Sweeping thresholds outward to push out stagnant energy. Feeding the hearth to keep the heart of the home alive. Speaking words of power as you lock the door at night. Small acts, repeated, that reinforce the boundary between what's yours and what isn't. Protection wasn't something you did once. It was something you lived. Banishing isn't a polite request. It's not asking something to leave, it's telling it. This is eviction magic, and you're the landlord with the final say. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram gets all the press, and it works, sure. But folkloric banishing? Older. Honestly more direct. Your ancestors didn't trace pentagrams in the air, they made noise. Loud, disruptive, unmistakable noise. Iron struck against stone. Pots banged together at thresholds. Fire crackling and spitting sparks. Commands spoken with your full chest, not whispered like you're hoping to be heard. This is about presence, about claiming your space with zero ambiguity. And here's the thing, you can banish spirits, absolutely. But you can also banish patterns, attachments that won't let go, intrusive thoughts that loop and loop and loop. Anything that's overstayed its welcome in your energetic space is fair game. Timing amplifies everything. Waning moon for removal. The dark is already pulling things away, you're just directing the current. Crossroads for sending something away from you in all directions, no path back. Running water to carry it downstream and gone, dissolved into the flow. Banishing is final. It's the moment you stop negotiating with what doesn't serve you and start enforcing boundaries that actually hold. You're not hoping it leaves. You're making it leave. Binding gets a bad reputation because people confuse it with control. You're not binding someone to you, you're binding their capacity to harm. That's the difference, and it matters. Freezer spells, knotwork, poppets wrapped in black thread, these are all binding. They work because you're constraining energy, making it so something can't move against you. You're not destroying. You're stopping movement. There's an elegance to that, honestly. The ethics are simpler than people pretend. If someone is actively harming you and won't stop, binding their ability to continue isn't revenge. It's self-preservation. It's saying, you've had chances to do better, and since you won't, I'm removing your ability to reach me. That's not cruelty. That's boundary enforcement with teeth. Historically, binding was used against gossip, theft, and ill-wishers. The Italian depictions, curse tablets, bound enemies' tongues and hands. Very literally stopping harm at the source. You couldn't spread lies if your tongue was tied. You couldn't steal if your hands were bound. The magic tracked the problem to its root and stopped it there. And here's what I want you to understand. Binding isn't your first move. It's your last one. But when it's necessary, it's necessary. And you don't need to apologize for protecting yourself. Here's the thing about apotropaic magic. It's one of the oldest forms of protection we have, and it's everywhere once you start looking. Those blue glass evil eye talismans? Apotropaic. Victorian witch bowls hung in windows? Same principle. Even the grotesque gargoyles glaring down from cathedral rooftops, that's apotropaic architecture. The word itself comes from Greek, to turn away. And that's exactly what it does. You're not absorbing the attack, not taking it into your body or your space to transform it. You're creating a surface that harm simply can't penetrate. So it does the only thing it can. It bounces back to whoever sent it, or it disperses into nothing. Think of it like this: a mirror box with someone's name in it, a return-to-sender sachet tucked behind your door, even just a small mirror facing outward in your window. These aren't aggressive acts. You're not cursing anyone. You're building defensive architecture. The key difference matters. When you curse, you're generating energy, directing will, crafting harm with intention. When you reflect, you're just refusing to be the landing place for harm that already exists. You're not adding anything. You're saying no. And the universe handles the rest. It's protection that doesn't ask you to carry the weight of what was meant for you. So here's where you start, your thresholds. The places where outside becomes inside. Salt your doorways. Hang something protective over the entrance. Iron, Rowan, a symbol that means something to you. You're not performing, you're establishing. This space is yours. You decide what enters. That's the foundation, and honestly, it changes everything. Then make it portable. Carry something small and charged. A stone in your pocket. A sigil you drew on paper and folded tight. Even a specific scent you've designated as your shield, something you can breathe in and remember who the hell you are when the world gets loud. Protection travels with you, or it's just decoration. But here's the part nobody tells you. Protection isn't one big ritual you do once and forget. It's continuous. It's noticing what drains you, naming it out loud, and then actively removing or blocking it. Not someday. Now. The old ways understood this completely. Protection is maintenance. It's attention. It's the daily choice to keep your energy sovereign, to guard what's yours, to say no without explanation. And that matters more than any single spell ever could. Because the real work isn't the salt or the sigil. It's you standing at your threshold with salt on your fingers, knowing exactly what you're keeping out and what you're keeping sacred. Not because you're afraid of the dark, but because you finally understand what deserves to live in your light. Follow Blackfire Atelier. I'll see you in the shadows.